everybody. Welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, and another convoy to Ottawa this weekend. What? Really? Who's putting this on? Who's organizing this? What's it for? Why are we doing this? Well, we'll try and answer at least some of those questions just a little further on in the show tonight. And you know me. I am skeptical about things until I know exactly who's behind it, what it's for, blah, da, 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 da. You got to investigate these things. You can't just latch on to random stuff from random people on social media, because in this day and age, that can be kind of dangerous. And we'll show you exactly how dangerous it can be in just a couple of minutes. The Shadow at Night live stream, as always, my friends, is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Today we're comparing Crest toothpaste to SilverSuticals toothpaste. First, we're starting out with Crest. It's a classic, it's an original, it's what I've used most of my life. But that being said, it does have its problems. First off, the consistency is so weird and thick, and I get it's a paste, but it really doesn't spread that well. And I must also say that I'm not in love with the taste. I get toothpaste isn't supposed to taste good, but why shouldn't it? But that being said, it does get the job done. Next we have SilverSuticals. They have 3 flavors, but today we're going with Bubbleberry. And already it smells so good. So I'm excited to see what this tastes like. The consistency is also a lot smoother, and I must say it spreads way nicer in your mouth.
This literally tastes like fruit bubblegum.
Yeah, this toothpaste was pretty good. I actually went in for seconds, and it's infused with nano silver, so it helps remineralize your teeth and keep them fresh throughout the day.
100% go with SilverSuticals.
And here's the results. What's your favorite toothpaste?
Of course, it's CanadaNanoSilver.com, 204-808-9292 if you want more information about any of their awesome products that you can find on the website. You talk to Kevin and Anna, and they'll be happy to help you out. Again, it's CanadaNanoSilver.com. Products are absolutely amazing. They are very helpful, and you should probably look into them as opposed to buying all the normal stuff you've been buying for the last 25 years, made by the same manufacturers who are trying to poison you. Okay, so before we get into this convoy stuff, I want to read this story here that was sent to me today by some folks at the JCCF. And by the way, John Carpe will be joining the show again in the next couple of weeks to talk about the cases that JCCF is working on currently. Ontario Labor Board, a labor relations board, says case of Matt and Nicole Alexander will proceed. Now, this is very good news. Why? Well, the Labor Relations Board of Ontario has rejected attempts by, and this is a rare thing. I was talking to Matt just today, as a matter of fact. Rejected attempts by the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario and the Renfrew County District School Board to have the cases of Matt and Nicole Alexander dismissed. Both Ontario teachers were fired in October of 2023 after quietly refusing to celebrate and affirm certain LGBTQ plus policies at their schools. On April 17th of 2023, Matt Alexander's school suspended him from his grade 7 and 8 teaching position in relation to social media posts that were made about him. He didn't make them. These posts were made about him. Matt did not even have public social media accounts at the time. May 5th, 2023, Nicole Alexander discovered a pride poster taped to the front door of her kindergarten classroom without her consent. Before class, she moved the poster into a classroom cabinet. Later that morning, her principal summoned her to a meeting where she was abruptly suspended pending an investigation that dragged on for 6 months. October of 2023, the Renfrew County District School Board terminated both Matt and Nicole for not celebrating and affirming LGBTQ issues. Wow. Despite their record of treating all students with dignity and respect, the Alexanders found themselves cut off from their livelihoods and further disregarded by the union that refused to defend their charter-protected freedoms. The union wouldn't take their case. The union. Remind you of COVID and all? Vaccine policy? What we're seeing is a culture where if you don't actively affirm certain views, you're at risk, Matt Alexander explained. The couple filed a complaint asserting their union failed to fairly represent them when it refused to take their grievances to arbitration. The Alexanders also argued that their union acted arbitrarily and discriminatorily by ignoring their charter rights and freedoms. And Matt Alexander will be joining the show on Thursday night to talk all about this. And I can't wait to have him on. He's a good guy. Talked to him on the phone again earlier this afternoon, and he's actually very anxious to come on and tell his story. So Matt Alexander, teacher fired for not celebrating and affirming LGBTQ as a teacher in his school in Renfrew County, joins the show on Thursday night. Okay, what have we got here? Yeah, right, this convoy. So apparently there is a convoy going to Ottawa from all points across Canada. You know what I forgot quickly? We'll go say some hellos here real fast. Kathy is watching in Bothwell, Ontario. Darcy in Whitehorse on X. Hello, Marnie in Vermilion Bay, Ontario. Larry's watching in Windsor tonight. Hello, Diane in Welland. Kim is in Oka River. Happy birthday, belated birthday, Kim. Sorry I missed it yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Carol is watching tonight. Hello, Gloria in Winnipeg. Shano Vision is back watching tonight on Twitch. Hello, Susan in Leamington. Sashita's in Kingston. Joyce watching in Fort Capel, Saskatchewan. And over on Rumble, we have Andy Rock, Vilma. Who else? Blue Butterfly, Dog Lips, World Peace, Dyson, Goshi26, wherever you're watching tonight, whatever platform you happen to be watching on. Don't forget, you guys, to like and share. Get this out to as many people as we possibly can. It's kind of important, especially with something that is planned for this weekend coming up, but nobody seems to know exactly who is behind this. So the best I can figure here, and I'm sorry for all of the activity in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, but my Facebook goes crazy. I don't usually put Facebook on the screen, but tonight is an exception. Wayne Canada, a guy I'd never heard of before 2 weeks ago, has 35,000 followers on Facebook. That's a pretty healthy following. I'm not sure what his following was a couple of weeks ago, but it wasn't 35,000. So maybe because of this convoy that he's been promoting and pushing, it's gone up some. Or it could be something else, and bear with me on that. So Wayne Canada is talking about, why return to Ottawa? Why should we go back? And this is a question that I was asking last night, remember? So what is the reason? What are we protesting? People need a reason, not several reasons. We need a reason to get behind and protest, especially if you're asking us to travel 2,000 or 3,000 miles across the second largest country in the world. So he says to have all charges dropped on Tamara and Chris. And don't forget Chris Barber's hearing regarding his truck Big Red, whether or not the government's going to take it and squash it, is on Friday. All political prisoners related to the Peaceful Freedom Convoy also need charges dropped, and those in prison need to be released. There are a few people that say, wait. Well, they still have their homes and food on the table. It's been 3 years of waiting. Thousands of us have lost our jobs, our homes, our lives, and you want us to keep waiting. More are having trouble feeding themselves and their children, misspelled. Watch the video, Corruption in Canada. A few more reasons why we need to go to Ottawa. Time to hold them accountable. He says 25% of people are living in poverty. Housing is unaffordable. RCMP is corrupt. Canadian forces are ineffective. Rising crime rate, failed gun bans, an opioid epidemic, no progress on missing Aboriginal women, a divided country. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe you guys do, but I don't. So based upon, and then you go looking through other posts that he's put up, videos, more videos, the school bus, I don't know what that's about. I'm not going to play the videos here. Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's all pretty elementary here. He does have some friends in common. Amrit Bering, we've had him on the show. Dave Freedom, we've had him on the show. Jim Kerr, obviously. Rick Wall, Selena Paley. So I don't know. But what I can tell you is that follower count has gone up significantly in the past couple of weeks, and that could be due to a few other things. And then we've got this guy here. His name is Zachary McCrae, and he's created a YouTube channel called Fight for Canada, on which he has posted several videos. And so I went down and looked at a few of them today. And We're taking Canada back. Mark Carney is destroying Canada's middle class. Elbows up, another 507 Canadian products tariffed. Bill C-63 burns the Canadian Charter to the ground. Wake up, Canada. And here he is doing the walk-in talks. Welcome to Canada in 2025. Wake the hell up, Canada. We're being overtaken. Democracy is a sham in Canada. So he is also...
So let's get into some more detail.
He is also saying that there's going to be a protest on Parliament this weekend. I'm not sure if Wayne Canada and this guy, Zachary McRae, are aligned. I don't know if they're doing this together or if it's just a coincidence. But Fight for Canada is his YouTube channel, this fellow. And we're going to put this video up that I just started here.
Exactly what we are going to be protesting for on Saturday, September 13th, noon on Parliament Hill. Our top issue, the top Take Canada Back issue, is zero immigration. Zero immigration for at least the next 5 years. I don't need to walk you guys through. I know you're already on my side, but statistic after statistic after statistic tells us how detrimental this unlimited mass immigration, 8 million people into the country in a decade, another 1.5 between temporary and permanent workers targeted for 2025. We're already going well over our targets of refugee claimants for the year 2025, targeted to be 290,000. This is destroying the Canadian way of life. Whether you want to look at jobs market data, whether you want to look at housing data, whether you want to look at our healthcare system, Canada literally does not have the infrastructure to continue to allow 1.5 million immigrants into the country a year. I know this is not an issue that affects Mark Carney and his ilk, but for middle and lower class Canadians, this past decade has been a disaster. Just a couple of statistics. Our youth unemployment rate is as high as it's been since the 60s. Since the 60s, it's 14.6% right now. That's largely due to the temporary foreign worker program. Right now, we are targeting building 220,000 houses in the year 2025. That's what the Liberal government says their target is. You know that in all likelihood, it's going to wind up below that target. Meanwhile, we're bringing in 1.5 million people, and we already have a housing crisis where rental and housing costs are astronomical in this country. I don't need to cite any statistics. Everybody who lives in this country knows how goddamn expensive it is. Since 2015 under Justin Trudeau and continuing under Mark Carney, both rental and housing prices in the country of Canada have absolutely skyrocketed. And every unbiased analysis points to the fact that it is due to our unfettered immigration system, allowing 1.2 million people in 2021, 1.3 million people in 2022, 1.5 million people in 2024. This is the primary cause for the housing, the unaffordability, people not being able to house their families in Canada.
He's absolutely right. His presentation is a little bit off. Look, I get it. He's a young guy, and maybe he doesn't quite get the finer points of self-promotion. Maybe he doesn't quite get the finer points of winning friends and influencing people. He comes off as angry also. He almost comes off like he could be, and again, this is only speculation. And I don't think that I've brought this up just yet tonight. You guys remember Marcus Ray? Marcus Ray was this big freedom fighter who was storming Canada, going from town to town to town. I'm not sure if he made it to Ontario and the Maritimes and Quebec, but he was all through Western Canada, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, holding these rallies. And he was drawing a few hundred people at each rally, selling merch, wearing a duster coat and a cowboy hat and talking almost like he was from Texas. Canada needs freedom. He was talking about storming courts. He was talking about storming the RCMP training center in Regina, surrounding it with freedom fighters. And then at one of his rallies in Manitoba, it was discovered that he was, in fact, an agent for CSIS. He may not have been working for CSIS. It could be that he was working for them not by choice because they had something on him. I think that's the case because he lost a court case in BC and owed $250,000 to somebody he tried to scam, and allegedly. And then all of a sudden he's working for CSIS. And what was the reason for that operation? Were they trying to find other sedition-minded people and label them, take photographs of them? Yeah. Because there were CSIS agents in these crowds taking pictures with their little lapel cameras, taking down license plate numbers. Not that it matters. But that is what was going on. So could they be doing it again with this convoy that's just kind of been conjured out of nowhere? Remember the last one? We heard from several different people via video that there was a movement going on. They were moving to Ottawa and they were protesting the COVID mandates. It was enough already. But we heard from all kinds of different people while they were on the road what was going on. So far, all we've heard from is Wayne Canada and this fellow here. And again, I agree with many of their points, but I don't know who they are because they haven't built the trust yet. It takes a long time to build trust with people. I've been sitting here doing this every night for 5 years. You work hard at it to have people go, yeah, you know what? That guy knows what he's talking about. Sometimes I make mistakes. I fully admit it. And when I do, I try to make up for it best I can. But in this situation, I just don't know. And yeah, there's a lot of people like, I saw the comment just now, hopium fatigue, man. I got hopium fatigue. But I just don't know who these guys are. What they're asking is a lot. Like I said, moving from Vancouver to Ottawa, 2,500, 3,000 miles, expensive, time consuming. And for what? We don't know if there's going to be thousands of people there or if there's going to be dozens of people there or anybody at all. There's other groups on social media who are saying, if you can't make it to Ottawa this weekend, then go to your local legislature. Local? Well, I suppose if you live around Victoria or Edmonton, that could be considered local. But if you live in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, your capital is Regina, that's a 3-4 hour drive. If you live in Dauphin, Manitoba, that's a 3.5 hour drive to Winnipeg, the capital. Is there going to be anybody there? Who is arranging these provincial protests? And again, what are they for? Is it for 15, 16 different things, or is it for one thing in particular? Now, the Fight for Canada guy, Zachary McRae, he was talking about immigration being the number one thing, and that is something I can get behind. But it needs to be more organized, better organized, more familiar faces, trusted faces, people that we can go, yeah, okay, that person knows what they're talking about. I can get behind this. And then it struck me. RCMP, and of course the government, liberals, have said that right-wing extremist groups are the number one threat to Canadians. Remember that? Remember this clip from the CBC with RCMP Staff Sergeant Camille Habel? Watch this.
What I can tell you is that in that ideology in general, quite often we would see a desire to create a new society, a desire to live by different values and wanting to change or create some kind of chaos so that they could take over society to create it and live it the way that they want.
Is there any indication that there could be more individuals involved here?
Well, we know that because of the Instagram account that there are more people interested in that ideology. We know that that ideology is an issue in Canada right now, and it's something that we worry about and that we look into. So it's not a case that will fix the problem. It is really a societal problem. And what makes that ideology very complex is that it's not a one belief ideology. So when people are frustrated about something, they add their own frustrations and grievances to the ideology. They take a little bit of what they want from anything. So in this case, we're talking anti-authority, anti-government, but quite often it's mixed with, could be misogyny, racism, and then that becomes the ideology, and then proving and showing that ideology becomes very different because it's individualized.
Remember, she went on to say that anybody who believed in trans rights and what they're talking about these days, like, white shame, suddenly went back to family values, that person is showing signs of right-wing extremism. Yeah, I get it. We live in a dicked-up country. It's fragmented, man. It's divided. But they could be setting traps. Now, I'm not saying that people are going to get together at protests or rallies, gatherings, anywhere across the country and cause problems. As a matter of fact, I don't think that at all. But remember what happened at the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. The truckers were peaceful. It was the authorities that were the problem, and the media making stuff up. And they would not hesitate to do it again. Speaking of white privilege, you know who's been hitting it out of the park lately? Pickering counselor Lisa Robinson. She's got a YouTube channel. You should follow her. It's just Lisa Robinson, Pickering counselor, or counselor of the people, I think is what it is. We'll have her on live at some point soon. I love Lisa. I think I said that last night as well. But here she is talking about just that. White shame.
Haven't you had enough? Everywhere you look, they push the same message. White privilege, white fragility. Hate yourself for your history. When I was first elected, people even asked me to read the book White Fragility. So I did. And let me tell you, it is nothing but poison. Page after page designed to make white people hate themselves, to make us believe that everything we do, everything we say, even the way we exist, is somehow wrong. The fact that someone even wrote a book like that, and the fact that people promote it, is absolutely disgusting. It is not education, it's indoctrination. It's psychological warfare dressed up as progress. So let me make this clear. Labeling someone with white privilege is racist in itself. It judges an individual based solely on the color of their skin, not their actions or their character. It reduces a person to a stereotype, stripping away their individuality. I've gone over a year without pay. No one helped, no one noticed. That's not privilege. That's being punished for simply existing. If I weren't white, the outrage would have echoed from every rooftop all across the country. And fragile? No. Fragile is bowing your head and letting yourself be shamed into silence. Strength is standing proud when the world wants you quiet. Strength is refusing to be broken. And as for history, every nation, every group of people has things in the past they aren't proud of. Why are we the only ones told to carry that guilt forever? Why are we told we should hate ourselves for things that we didn't even do? Well, I refuse. I will not apologize for the color of my skin. I will not deny who I am, and I will not hate myself because others tell me to. I am proud to be white, I'm proud to be Canadian, and I'm proud of my national anthem, and I'm proud of my Canadian flag. And no amount of shaming, no amount of guilt tripping, no book, no slogan, no lecture will ever take that pride away from me.
Lisa Robinson. She should run for mayor of that town, Pickering. So Alberta has finally outed that there's pornography in their public school system, and they're getting rid of these books systematically. Here's a little piece one of the left-wing corporate stations in Alberta did on the problem there.
Education minister now outing some schools where, quote, sexually explicit graphic novels were found. Dimitrios Nicolaides' list includes Victoria School of the Arts in central Edmonton. The government says Fun Home, which we've blurred because of nude drawings, was found in the library here by concerned parents.
Victoria's a pre.
Hold on just a second. They had to blur out some of these titles because they're pornographic? Because they're graphic? The media has known about these books for years because people have been calling it out for years. And they've said nothing. And suddenly now they're putting it on screen. Blurred out, but they're putting it on screen. It's been newsworthy much longer than the last week. Let's continue.
Fun Home, which we've blurred because of nude drawings, was found in the library here by concerned parents.
Victoria's a pre-K to 12 school. I mean, it's pretty wild to hear that they have these kind of books. And he could be seeing and reading these things. It's not okay.
The list shows which of these books were found in 30 public schools in Edmonton and 28 in Calgary. But they were actually in school libraries across the province, according to the group Parents for Choice in Education, which sent volunteers into schools to find them.
Hang on just a second here. Do you support? I got to go back. Do you support?
To schools to find them.
This is a poll. Left-wing corporate media poll. Do you support Alberta Education's policy to remove books with sexually explicit images from school libraries? Yes, 86.2%. No, 6.9%. Depends on the context. Well, I guess if they're having the sex in a bedroom, then, well, that's different. It doesn't depend on the context. That's ridiculous. However, the people who answered that option, 6.9%. Yeah. And yet other provinces still very, very afraid to bring this up. Why? Because they're responsible. They're the ones responsible for putting these books in there in the first place, or allowing, let me just say that, allowing these books in the schools in the first place. Now, I do have some images I want to show you guys. Here's one here. They were sent to me by Raylan Fox today. This goes back to 2022. International Development Week, February 6th to 12th. Proclamation from the province of Manitoba. And this is for schools, right? So at the time, Wayne Uasco was the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning. This was a conservative government, or so-called conservative government. This year's theme, Go for the Goals, is a critical part of our collective efforts and obligations to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals identified in the United Nations Agenda 2030. Okay, so there's another one here. Let's put this one up here. Okay. This one is from last year, and it's the same thing. But this is the NDP government. This year's theme, Go for the Goals, emphasizes Manitoba and Canada's commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals as set out in the United Nations Agenda 2030. Could it be that your province is following the United Nations Agenda 2030 on everything, and you don't even know about it? Tonight on the extension on shadowdavis.com for the All Access members, we've got a mini documentary. It's called It's All Connected. It's about 43 minutes. And it talks about everything. Club of Rome, talks about the Bilderbergs, talks about the United Nations, it talks about the World Economic Forum, it talks about the people involved, it talks about what the plans are, and it's all connected. All of it. Everything that you're seeing, well, not everything, but mostly everything that you're seeing. The stuff that you don't agree with, let's put it like that. It's all connected. It's all connected to the plan. Let me throw this up. Left-wing corporate media obviously had to cover both sides of the story regarding the pornographic books in Alberta. And left-wing corporate CTV says, purely transphobic teen athlete calls out provincially mandated form requiring confirmation of sex at birth. It's transphobic. Well, first of all, that slur is not applicable, because I don't believe that any of us have an irrational fear of crazy people unless they're running around with some sort of sharp weapon. But if you see some dude in a dress walking down the street, you might go, wow, that guy's a little bit nutso. But I'm not scared of him. So transphobic, give me a break. It's just an attempt to try to shut you up. Please don't buy into that. Back to school looking different for girls playing sports this year in Alberta, as they're being given a provincially mandated form requiring them to confirm their sex at birth. Natalie Elzinga, and this is because they don't want boys playing in girls' sports, right? So they've gone to that level as well in Alberta, which I think is awesome. The only province in Canada to do so far. I think Saskatchewan has tried, but there's still some blurry lines there. Anyway, Natalie Elzinga, 14-year-old volleyball player, is calling the forms transphobic and unnecessary. She said she was pulled aside ahead of volleyball tryouts and told that she wouldn't be able to get on the court if she didn't sign the form. When I was told I was going to have to sign that form, I was in disbelief, because why should I? Because we need to know you're not a boy. This is just purely transphobic, and there is no need for it. Yes, there is. We don't want boys in the girls' locker rooms. We don't want boys muscling girls out of female sporting teams. The form that was given to Elzinga enters St. Albert School, and I certainly hope the Alberta government doesn't back down on this. I really pray to God that they don't back down on this. They don't start backpedaling and apologizing. They need to stand their ground. So the form that was given to this young lady at her St. Albert School follows the province's new Fairness and Safety in Sport Act, which requires girls and the parents of those under 18 to confirm they were born female in order to play female-only competitive sports. I'm not trans, I'm not queer in any way, shape, or form, but I know that this is terrifying for people who are. No, it's not. It shouldn't be, and if it is, maybe you should reconsider your choices in life. But these kids, they have been brainwashed. And where's that brainwashing coming from? Their teachers. In some cases, against the teacher's will, or they get fired, like Matt Alexander, who's going to be on the show Thursday night. Elzinga's mom is Leah. She's been in numerous volleyball games and tournaments over the last decade between her two daughters. It's my whole social life right now. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of parents. Never, not once, has this issue come up. Maybe it's because you haven't yet had a boy playing on a girls' team. But the second you do, everybody's going to be talking about it, Leah. Nobody's worried about this. Nobody's worried about their girls playing with trans girls and getting hurt in unfair play. Maybe not yet. But the second it happens, the gloves are off. So why even allow it? Why even take a chance of something that we all know is wrong anyway? St. Albert Public Schools said the forms are being distributed and collected by coaches when students try out for a team. Forms will be kept at school offices and not given to the province. Edmonton Public Schools said it will do the same, while the city's Catholic schools use a digital form with access restricted to authorized administrators and office staff. Under the province's new rules, those wanting to participate in boys-only sports don't have to fill out the same forms that girls do. Well, they don't care about trans athletes in sports. Otherwise, they'd care about all trans. No, Leah, because we know for the most part that if you have a girl wanting to play with boys, there's probably not a real big risk that she's going to hurt them, at least not physically. We kind of know that. We had a woman play on a men's industrial hockey league team, lasted a couple of weeks. She wanted to come out and play, and I said, I think that's dumb. She's going to get hurt. But some of the more progressive guys on the team said, I think we got to give her a chance. She's going to go complain to management. This was a radio station team that I was playing on at the time. I said, all right, you guys go ahead. She came out for 2 weeks. She got blasted in the corner. Now, we were playing no contact. Sorry, no hitting, but there was contact. So she got blasted in the corner completely unintentionally. The other team did not go out to hurt her. They were just going for the puck, and she got in the way. Boom. She did not want to come back. And I do remember saying to her, it was probably not the right choice for you to think about doing this. These guys are 50 or 60, 70, 80 pounds, heavier than you. A lot of them are solid muscle, and they skate way faster. I'll put it to you like this. If there were tryouts for that team, proper tryouts, she never would have come close to making our squad. So, yeah, you guys know exactly what they're doing in Alberta. At least I hope you do, because I'm in favor. 86% of people are in favor of this in Alberta. So, Danielle, whatever you do, don't back down. I don't think you can. The Alberta UCP AGM is coming up at the end of November, and you may have noticed that Danielle is starting to do more things that appeal to her base, her raw base of voters. These are people who are actual conservatives, not make-believe conservatives, not people who will vote conservative if they're dismayed with the NDP or the Liberals. These are people who have conservative values, conservative beliefs, common sense. And so she did this thing suddenly. I wonder, obviously she's known about this for quite some time. Why now is she doing it? Because there are rumblings that they're trying to move her out and move somebody else into the leadership of the UCP. Danielle also made a video the other day. It's been seen something like 400,000 times on X. Not bad. It's 9 minutes long. I decided to cut it down, make it 3 minutes, and show it to you guys. Here it is.
Canada's economy is suffering right now. We've had an inflation crisis, high unemployment, declining GDP, capital investment fleeing Canada for other countries, massive federal deficits, and of course, the U.S. tariff threat, which has exposed just how dependent we are on one single country for the vast majority of our exports. It's been a tough go lately. But what if I told you that we could help solve every single one of these problems with just a couple of key policy changes by our federal government? What if there was a way to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, attract back hundreds of billions in investment capital, bolster GDP growth, diversify our trade markets, and flow new revenues to federal and provincial budgets, all without spending a single tax dollar? Does that sound too good to be true? Well, it isn't. And all that stands in the way is just some common sense and a bit of courage by our Prime Minister. You see, Canada has among the largest supply of valuable natural resources on Earth. On a per-person basis, our endowment of natural resources far exceeds China, Europe, Russia, and even the United States. And it's not particularly close. We have incredibly fertile lands and oceans, unmatched supplies of timber, uranium, and potash, and a treasure trove of critical minerals in every province and territory. And one more thing, we literally live on top of more than 1 trillion barrels of oil and more than 1 quadrillion cubic feet of natural gas. Canadians right across our country appear to be waking up to what has happened. We're starting to understand that we've been shooting ourselves in the foot. We are far too economically dependent on one customer, and that if we want to be economically prosperous and independent again, we need to take advantage of the incredible endowment of resources that we enjoy. And luckily, we, Canada, still have control over our own destiny. We don't have to remain economically weak. We don't need to rely on any foreign nation for our economic well-being. Our success is a guarantee if, and here's the key, if our federal government and a couple of provincial ones will simply agree to unblock and unleash the power of our oil, gas, and natural resource sectors. And it won't take a lot to get started either. Here are 3 things the federal government could do right now that would immediately turn our nation's economic fortunes around. First, announce that Canada will no longer be implementing the oil and gas emissions cap. This will send a clear signal that Canada wants to expand oil and gas production and reduce emissions through technology and innovation, rather than by capping resource development. Second, announce that Canada will be repealing the oil tanker ban this fall. The federal government can then work with BC, Alberta, and Indigenous leaders to build a new resource corridor and bitumen pipeline to ports on the northwest BC coast to access new markets in Asia. And third, announce an overhaul to the C-69 No New Pipelines law. The federal government needs to commit to working with the provinces to change the law to ensure there is no federal interference with the approval of in-province resource projects, while significantly streamlining federal approvals for cross-border projects such as pipelines, power lines, and economic corridors. That's it. Those three things alone will change the fortunes of our country's economy overnight.
Now, Danielle is a smart woman, really smart. She knows her stuff. But when she talks about getting the federal government run by extreme climate zealots to actually start removing these environmental regulations, and then she mentions a couple of provinces in there, and I think she's probably talking about British Columbia and Quebec. She knows that they'll never do it. Not ever. So what does that say? Is she building a ramp to sovereignty, Alberta sovereignty, or is she building a ramp towards actually trying to become the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada? Because she said she believes in a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. I still don't know what that means. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's the same thing Quebec is right now. They can do pretty much whatever they want. Quebec. They've got a national assembly of their own. They don't have a legislature, a provincial legislature. They have a national assembly. That's what it's called in Quebec. So, can you actually be a country within a country? Or is Canada not a country and more of a union, like the European Union, where you've got France and Germany and Italy and all the European countries under this one umbrella called the European Union? Is that what Canada is? Bunch of sovereign countries in some kind of a loose-fitting union? What is confederation anyway? Maybe all of these things are finally going to start seeping out. Things that we've been talking about for the past 5 years now. But what is Danielle up to? I think she's just trying to appease the base of her party. Because as I'd mentioned, the UCP AGM is coming up November 28th through 30th in Edmonton. And I do believe there are some rumblings that they want to remove her if she doesn't start doing things that they want her to do. And she's being politically expedient with all of it. In the meantime, here's what the federal government is talking about now. Well, the Treasury Board president, anyway, says ministers have identified nearly 500 ways to cut red tape. And Mark Carney himself says, we're going to get some energy corridors going. We're going to develop LNG ports. Okay, so get started. You gave yourself the power to go ahead and just wipe out anybody's concern. First Nations can't get in the way now. So go ahead, do it. Well, we need to meet. In 3 years' time, they're still going to be talking about it. They're still going to be meeting about it. And nothing's going to get done. Do you want to know why? You already know why. I don't have to tell you why. It's because Mark Carney is a climate zealot and he doesn't have any plans to export or even start digging out of the ground oil and natural gas. He just does not want to do it because he's a net zero extremist, a zealot. Read his book, you'll see. Treasury Board President Shafkat Ali announced Monday morning the federal government has published progress reports identifying nearly 500 ways departments are cutting red tape to make themselves more efficient. Really? They're never going to follow up on any of this stuff. I mean, they can sit there and they can talk all they want. That's what the liberals do. They talk and they talk and they talk, and they never do anything good for the country. Never. It's 10 years. Look at us. Reduced red tape will support Government of Canada priorities like more efficient reviews of projects to drive economic growth. Sure. And greater collaboration with trading partners to reduce barriers to help get products to market faster. The announcement is a follow-up to Mark Carney's cross-departmental review of all regulations, which he ordered in July. 2 months later. Wow. They're moving at the speed of light here. At the time, the Prime Minister said cutting red tape is essential to unlocking Canada's full economic potential. Believe it when you see it, my friends. Believe it when you see it. Here's the story. You know, we had the story about the home intruder in Ontario a couple of weeks ago who got beaten by the homeowner at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and the homeowner was charged with assault. How about this one? A Winnipeg grocer and his staff are being sued by a self-professed career criminal. I shouldn't be laughing. Who says he was beaten by 8 or 9 employees while attempting to steal a car from the store parking lot last year. A statement of claim filed in Winnipeg court by Michael Prince, August 12th, names Dino's Food Market owner Rajan Varma, I know that place, and 8 John and Jane Does, whom he says kicked, punched, and hit him with a hammer in the store parking lot after Prince says he stole a jacket from inside the store containing a wallet and a key fob. The statement of claim says he went home, came back 30 minutes later to steal the vehicle, went home to change and maybe have a bite to eat from some food he stole. I guess I got to go back and steal that car. How did he know the car was still going to be there? Oh, maybe because the person that owned the car was an employee he noticed was working at the store and wasn't going to be off for a few hours. Maybe that's how. But he couldn't steal the car because the car was boxed in. Undeterred, he used the fob to enter the vehicle, triggering an alarm which alerted Dino's personnel. He says they set upon him, pulled him out of the car, and beat him. So Prince ran to his home where his brother called 911. What? Winnipeg police charged Prince with theft and say no assault charges have been laid against any of the staff at Dino's. Prince alleges he sustained head trauma and hearing loss from the February 26th incident and suffers from constant fear, anxiety, apprehensiveness, depression, and feelings of worthlessness now. My goodness. Court records show Prince has a long criminal history, even boasting in an unrelated pre-sentence report last summer that he led a theft ring that stole more than $1 million in property over the course of a decade, which, funded his drug habit by selling stolen goods at bars and bingo halls. Neither Prince nor his lawyer agreed to be interviewed. Varma declined to be interviewed, but says he's working with a lawyer on a statement of defense. This comes on the heels of the Lindsay man being charged with assault. Well, no one at Dino's faces criminal charges. Personal injury lawyer Chris Woolham explains that doesn't mean there aren't grounds for a civil suit. It doesn't necessarily mean that on a civil standard they still didn't commit an assault or other sort of tortious activity, said Woolham, who isn't involved in this matter. Prince is seeking unspecified damages for being unable to provide for himself now. In other words, he can't steal anymore. So he's suing the people who are working. Federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has recently made political hay of issue of property owners standing up to criminals. It's wrong for the law, for police, and for judges to apply a complicated, indecipherable legal doctrine against you when you're only doing what is right, he said at a press conference on August 29th. You've heard about that Ukrainian refugee who was stabbed to death in the United States. I think it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So this is from Juno News. And they're saying the CBC other legacy. And I wish, this is a message to Candace Malcolm, who runs Juno News. Please stop calling them the legacy media. because a legacy means you're leaving something good behind, something worthwhile, something noble. I want my legacy to be that people thought I was doing good work. That's my legacy. These people are not legacy. These people are left-wing corporate media, and they should be treated as such and named as such. They are not doing us any favors. And words are everything. So the left-wing corporate media not reporting on this story in Canada. The fatal stabbing of a young Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte, North Carolina light rail train. It's become widely discussed in the United States. And here's her picture. Have a look at her. There she is. She's blonde and she's white. Dick Carlos Brown, 31, is charged with first-degree murder in the August 22nd killing of 23-year-old Irina Zarutska. There she is, Irina Zarutska. So I have to say that Candace is wrong with this story. Juno's wrong with this story because, look, the left-wing corporate media did, in fact, report on this just today, after it's been in the news for days. Finally, they talked about it on the CTV. Man faces federal charge. Federal charge. Now, first-degree murder should be a state charge. But it's a federal charge because the state won't charge the guy. It's not politically expedient. So man faces federal charge in killing of Ukrainian woman on Charlotte train. So let's look at this entire story up and down here. There's a picture of the train. They say this screen grab made from video provided by the Charlotte area transit system shows Irina Zarutska bottom right before she was fatally stabbed on a commuter train. Where? Is this her here? Is this, it looks like a dude. Is that Irina Zarutska right there wearing the hat? Is that her? Why don't you show us an actual picture of her? Let's see here. Nope. No, nowhere on their page except for that. A picture of what could be anybody in the bottom right of there. That's absolutely reprehensible reporting. Israel attacked today Qatar. They dropped bombs in Qatar. They were going after Hamas. So Donald Trump says Doha strike on Hamas does not advance the U.S.-Israel goals as Canada and world leaders condemn the attack. Qatar has been a mediator between Israel and Hamas. They say the bombing was a cowardly Israeli attack on Hamas headquarters. So here's the latest. The attack on Hamas headquarters has received widespread condemnation by world leaders, as well as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who said it could jeopardize peace talks to end the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. This is a toughie, you guys. This is really a toughie. Throws a monkey wrench into everything you put together in the puzzle. Qatar described the strike as a cowardly Israeli attack on Hamas's political headquarters in its capital, Doha. The assault marks the second time the energy-rich nation has been directly attacked in the Gaza war. Benjamin Netanyahu said the Doha strike was in retaliation for the deadly shooting at a Jerusalem bus stop Monday and the October 7th, 2023 Hamas-led attacks. Pretty flimsy. Donald Trump promised Qatar such an attack on its soil would not happen again, but called eliminating Hamas a worthy goal. I agree with that. Hamas has named the 5 members of its militant group who were killed in the strike, including a top negotiator's son. You know what I would like? And you probably feel the same way. We're going to get to this story in just a second because it's a doozy. What I would like is for our country to get out of all of these foreign wars. Stop commenting on them. We don't have any reason to be commenting on what's going on in the Middle East. We don't have any reason to be involved in the Ukraine situation. It's not our business. It's not our war. They're not our allies. Yeah, of course, we've got trading agreements with Ukraine. We've got trading agreements with a lot of countries around the world, but that doesn't mean we need to send them $22 billion of our dollars. We've got problems at home that need to be addressed before any of that. I mean, if we were in a decent situation here at home, then I might say, all right, maybe, let's talk about why first. And then if you can give some valid reasons, then we should. But if you can't, then we won't. But we're not in good shape here. We're in terrible shape here. We don't need to be sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, Israel. We don't need to be standing on one side or the other. We don't have a military that can do anything effective in any war in this country, or in this world, I mean. So based on that alone, we should have no voice in any of this. And yet the liberals won't shut up about it. Poilievre won't shut up about it either. Oh, we're a G8 nation. So what? Sorry, G7. Doesn't matter. Take care of Canadians first. You know, I find it funny, Poilievre with his Canada first policy. Canada first, Canada first. We'll support Ukraine until the... Come on, man. You got to pull your head out of your ass. Now, what is going on with Donald Trump anyway? Well, apparently there was some note that came out today, or was it late yesterday? It was a note from Trump to Epstein that he denies signing, by the way. Donald Trump denies signing, but it was released by Congress. So here's the story. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we can all see here and so I can read this for you guys. Click, click, click. Here it is. All right. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released Monday a sexually suggestive letter to Jeffrey Epstein purportedly signed by Donald Trump, which he has denied. The letter was included as part of a 50th birthday album compiled in 2003 for Epstein, a wealthy, well-connected financier who was once a friend of Trump's. The full House committee on Monday night released a copy of the entire album, which bore names of some other prominent figures like Bill Clinton. Alan Dershowitz. In a friend section included other letters with sexually provocative language. Trump had said he did not write the letter or create the drawing of a curvaceous woman that surrounds the letter, and he filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for earlier reporting on his link to this letter. As I've said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture. He did not sign it. That from Caroline Leavitt, who is the White House press secretary. He said that on X. President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich posted various pictures on X of Trump's signature over the years and wrote, "It's not his signature." As House Republicans left the Capitol last night, many waved off questions about the letter, echoing a similar theme. It's not his signature. I've seen Donald Trump sign a million things. That from Rep. Byron Donald of Florida. And here is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson talking about it last night.
President Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. And he was one of the only people, one of the only prominent people, as everyone has reported, not President Trump, but everybody about him, that he was willing to help law enforcement go after this guy who was a disgusting child abuser, sex trafficker, all the allegations. That's what they heard. So the president was helpful in that. I don't know if I use the right terminology, but that's common knowledge and everybody knows that. So this is much ado about nothing.
Did the president tell you this specifically about his involvement?
I was recounting what others have said. The president and I have talked about the Epstein evils many times. He's as disgusted by it as everybody else. He has long had a history of acknowledging that, and he has said repeatedly he wants everything to come out, all credible information, everything for the American public to decide.
Was he ever asked to wear a wire or anything like that?
I have no idea. No, I'm not saying that. I have no information about that whatsoever. I was repeating what has been common knowledge for a long time. The president was helpful in trying to get Epstein, for the law enforcement to go after Epstein. That's always been my understanding. That's common knowledge. It's the public's understanding. I was not breaking news there, okay? What I'm trying to emphasize is that the president is as disgusted about this as everyone is, all people of good conscience. We heard from the victims last week. It was gut-wrenching to hear their accounts. Many of them came out here and did it to a broader audience, to the public. But there's as many as 1,000 other victims, hundreds of young women, now some of them middle-aged women, who were subjected to these abuses for a long, long time, and justice is long overdue. So we're not just investigating Epstein and what happened, but why the justice system failed these women for so long. That is why the House Oversight Committee is on this so aggressively, and as you saw, the latest developments, I think Chairman Comer and some other members are going down to Florida. They're going down to the Epstein estate to look at visitor laws at the estate. By the way, none of this is encompassed in the discharge petition, Gambit. This is what the Oversight Committee is tasked to do. That is what they are doing in a bipartisan fashion. You have very aggressive members on both sides of the aisle that are on it, and we are greatly comforted by that. So we fully support it.
Right, thank you,
So they're going down to the island to check the flight logs to see if Trump was on them. Did you ever see A Few Good Men when Jack Nicholson's character changed the flight logs to make sure that they never found out about the code red? Do you think the president of the United States can't alter a few flight logs to make sure that nobody ever sees them? Not saying that he was on them in the first place, because I just don't know what he was saying. And Mike Johnson is saying this. I'd never heard of it before, even though he's sitting there saying, oh, this is not news. I'm not breaking any news here, by saying that President Trump was actually helping the FBI try and get this guy as early as 2008. In 2009, what? Did he wear a wire? Well, I don't know. So Trump was an FBI informant about Jeffrey Epstein? Really? Who knew? Now, what I can say to you is there was a list being made by Epstein's victims. They all came out with a statement. I think it was about a week ago now. And they were talking about wanting the files released and whatnot. But none of them came out and named Donald Trump as anybody that they ever saw while they were working on Epstein Island. Unless I've missed something. Did you guys see anything? I didn't see anything. And I looked and looked and looked. Did any of them say anything about Donald Trump or anybody else for that matter? I think Bill Clinton's name came up a couple of times, but this is a name we've heard before repeatedly. And how come nobody ever says anything about Bill Clinton being on Epstein Island? I mean, we say it, but nobody goes, he should be arrested. Well, I guess we do, but they don't. Why not? Shouldn't he be? Shouldn't somebody investigate what the hell was going on down there with Bill Clinton, a former president? I was talking earlier about how everything is connected, you know, the climate change and then the race stuff and then the trans stuff and all of that. And then I remembered this piece of comedic genius that was put out by the Babylon Bee just before the U.S. election last year. I think it was late October of last year. And I thought, this would be a good way to wrap up the show tonight before we actually get into that mini doc on All Access tonight on the extension, shadowdavis.com. If you're not a member, by the way, go ahead and sign up tonight. It's like $13 a month or something. You can get a deal if you sign up for the year. shadowdavis.com. And do not forget to join the Telegram group. It's the Shadow at Night community. We would love to see you there. And don't forget to like and share. Get this out tonight to as many people as possible. Here is the Council of Pure Evil.
Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ+ and trans rights. You see, I have an equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine.
Open borders. I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and you and I, we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down. Just
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. I see it's much easier on the ears than baby murder. So kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't.
We don't. Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like, diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head and moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it.
Of course, there was more to it than that. Oh, by the way, for entertainment purposes only, YouTube and Meta. That's it for the show tonight, you guys. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Catch you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, for another episode. All access. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Have a great sleep and a great day tomorrow. Bye for now. Don't forget, Shadow at Night live stream brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Silver is amazing. It has several natural health benefits, and it's been used for hundreds of years for health and healing. That's the main reason they made silverware from silver. But seriously, this nano silver from Silverceuticals is the best and safest silver you can find. There are hundreds of studies and reports on it. I've read some of the studies myself, and it's mind-blowing. One of the things that sets Silverceuticals apart is that it washes out of your body in 24 hours. No silver buildup and no turning blue. And it won't even harm the good bacteria your body needs. It's so effective they can use very small concentrations of silver, like 10 and 32 parts per million, and still outperform other silvers that have up to 3,000 parts per million. It's safer and more effective at the same time. It is an incredibly small particle that is small enough to work through your body, but big enough not to fall out of suspension. They infuse it into almost all of their products. It works in facial serums, toothpaste, gels, and even gummies that work to help your immune system.